In association with Official Wrestling comes A Few Good Marks Podcast.
Hello everyone and welcome to A Few Good Marks Podcast. Today it is a very special one. We are talking TNA after it was announced that they've been rebranded and taken over by Global Force Wrestling. I'm Kieran, your host as always, and I'm joined by Croft.
Hello.
And Candy.
Hello.
It's just the three of us. I mean, Willow's here as well, but he's not contributing because he's just sat here playing SmackDown vs. Raw because we're so professional.
SmackDown vs. Raw 2011.
Yeah,
because
just
TNA.
Great way to start this podcast. So we're gonna go through the sort of like eras of TNA from like the early days to just before they were taken over by some big names, and then from then until the name change. Early thoughts on TNA, overall thoughts from you two? It was really I had fun. TNA was always hit and miss for me.
I like the concept of TNA. I like the fact there's an alternative to WWE after WCW. Died a death, well, bought out, and well, we all know what happened.
Yeah.
So the fact that it came about quite quickly after that and was a fresh new idea, you know, it started off as just pay-per-view only shows, which had never been done before, and it was trying to be a genuine alternative to the giant that was WWE at the time. But the fact that it never really reached those heights was kind of to be expected. After the Monday Night Wars, there was never going to be a reasonable alternative to WWE.
True.
But I like the idea, and I like the fact people were at least trying to be...
I think that there was only like one or two times where it legitimately came close. Like it came down to creative decisions that just tilted the thing the other way.
As like you're saying, it was a good alternative to WWE, but sometimes it did just come off as like WWE light.
Yeah, that we'll
and
come
that
up
was
to
the
that
issue with it.
in a bit. So I've prepared myself a nice little script, so this is obviously going to sound rehearsed because I'm reading straight from it.
Okay.
So, formed in 2002 by Jeff Jarrett along with Bob Ryder and Jerry Jarrett, which is Jeff's dad. The company went straight on to pay-per-view, as you mentioned, swerving TV altogether. In July of 2002, the one and only Vince Russo joined the company and would serve as a creative writer, who would also be involved in the production of the shows. So you can see why it wasn't great to begin with. Russo claims that he also coined the name Total Nonstop Action, with the abbreviation TNA being a play on T and A, meaning tits and ass.
Classic Russo.
Fucking amazing way to start off. You got a brand new company that's going to rival WWE. What do? Give it a
Let's
fucking
call
silly,
it tits and ass, bro.
give it a stupid ass fucking name. This is
Let me
interesting.
tell you, bro.
The first show was scheduled to go out on the 19th of June 2002, but in a dark match before the show aired, a super heavyweight wrestler called Cheeks hit the ropes so hard that he broke the ring. First match in TNA.
Snapped the rope, didn't he? And you were like-
just and
You're running around trying to fix it?
yeah, apparently it was going to take like 30 to 60 minutes to repair, which they didn't have. So you can see, so it just kind of went from there.
They
really.
should have just used that as a sign to just
Start
not
off
go
as you
ahead.
need to go on.
Yeah, pretty much. TNA ran shows out of the TNA Asylum, which is another name for something else coming up later, which was the Tennessee State Fairgrounds Sports Arena. That's a mouthful.
Where they had dancing girls in cages.
They did have dancing girls in cages in Nashville, Tennessee, because obviously where else is the Tennessee State Arena going to be? 27 months and 111 pay-per-views after the first show. The last weekly pay-per-view was on the 8th of September 2004. So they went for quite a long time, but it was an interesting format.
So I didn't realise how long they went.
Yeah,
Doing
with just
pay-per-views.
Yeah.
Could you be arsed?
I know.
As a fan,
Well,
thinking,
they've been making...
They weren't
like,
that. They were only.
okay.
I think they were like. They weren't like WWE pay-per-views where they cost like 30, 40 quid a part. I think they were only like maybe £5-10 a go.
That's
So
not too
depending
bad.
on the card on
Yeah.
what they put out, it has its advantages and disadvantages. But
It did well to survive those first
yeah, absolutely,
year or two.
absolutely,
Just on pay-per-view.
I mean,
absolutely.
if it was that, like, because 111 after 2 years, that's about one a week, more or less.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And if you were paying like a $5 a week, that's a lot more than $9.99 a month.
It is, isn't
Talking like double. So the fact they had people that were supporting him means it had a pretty good start. If you think about it.
I think people, especially because it was Southern wrestling. There was that whole market which Vince tends to ignore. I feel.
True.
So there was a gap in the market.
So I think a lot of the early guys, people like AJ and James Storm, who were on like the very first shows, they were always told like this could be done next week. Like this is a very permanent thing. We could keep going, or this could be done in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think so. Okay. TNA launched Impact in May of 2004, which saw the introduction of the six-sided ring, which caused controversy and joy throughout the world.
Joy from me.
I loved the six-sided ring. It was entirely different.
And it wasn't just different for the sake of being different either. They actually used it to their advantage and made a point of the fact there was a six-sided ring.
Triangle ring.
No, I like the six sides. It was good. They used it to do it different, but as I say, not for the sake of being different. To say we genuinely have this idea that we're going to use and make the most out of.
Yeah, six sides definitely had some advantages, and they did well to exploit those advantages and not, like I said, not just be different.
For the sake of it.
We don't want four sides.
So the show started on Fox Sports, which was originally presented more like a legitimate sport with the displaying the commentators and the timekeepers during the match. So they would have the competitor and they'd have the competitor's name at the top, like they would in boxing and whatever, and they'd have the time rolling as well, which current WWE don't do unless it's like an Ironman match or whatever, which I think is quite cool. What the fuck was I? There was TNA moved to producing monthly 3-hour pay-per-views with a weekly Impact serving as the run-up to them. The first 3-hour TNA pay-per-view was
Bound for Glory.
No.
I thought that was what I read on Wikipedia.
No, that's the main one.
That was their main one, but what was the first one?
Pay-per-view, I know. Unbreakable.
Nope.
Good pay-per-view.
It was
Explosion.
No, Explosion was like the subsection one.
I'm just trying to pick off all the little things I read on Wikipedia
Genesis.
at 8
No,
a.m.
not
this
Genesis.
morning.
Final Resolution.
No, that's a WWE one.
Breaking Point. That is also a WWE.
That's Final Revolution is the
Destination X.
Nope.
Sacrifice.
Nope.
Three-way sacrifice.
We'll get to that. No, it was Victory Road.
Oh, okay.
Victory Road 2004.
I might have got there eventually.
Well, you didn't. TNA's deal with Fox ended in May of 2005, and TNA would not come back onto television until October 2005, which is quite a lengthy way away from television. But in October 2005, they signed a deal with Spike. ... Let the madness begin. So that's where we're up to at the moment. I want to just kind of take a break from talking about the history to talk, as we mentioned before, about the early talent, because that was quite a big thing for TNA, was the homegrown talent, as opposed to bringing in all these WWE guys like it was, like as it became anyway. So I've got a list of some of the absolute legends that are. So of course, topping the list is AJ Styles,
of course,
poster boy for TNA. Samoa Joe. Notice how the first 5 of these names have appeared in WWE recently, because Eric Young as well, who.
He's fantastic in WWE at the moment.
He is, absolutely. James Storm had a very short run in TNA, and of course Bobby Roode, the legend that he is.
Very short run in NXT, yeah.
Bobby Roode?
No, I thought you said James Storm.
Oh yeah, James Storm did.
In NXT.
Yes.
Yeah. He was on it for like 2 weeks, wasn't he?
Yeah, he had like 3 matches, but yeah, he still managed to get into the Breaking Ground documentary.
Of course he did.
Yeah, okay. There was also Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley, Motor City Machine Guns.
Yes, that was a massive mark for them back in the day.
Fantastic tag team. Like
Really
there's some of the stuff they did. Is it?
I remember seeing
Lockdown 2007, where they weren't together yet, but they were showing signs doing like a 6-way X Division match.
Both heels, so they can't
Yeah.
see
I think
that was
flirt.
Yeah, it was amazing.
You know the match where they have the massive X and you have to climb the poles? Is that Destination X?
Ultimate X.
Ultimate X. I remember seeing Ultimate X match with them both in it, and it was fucking brilliant.
Yeah,
it was the first TNA match I watched, and straight away I was like, yeah, I like these guys.
Yeah.
These are really good.
For a bit of English flair in there's Magnus, who is
Yes.
technically the first ever British World Heavyweight Champion, and I've met him. He was We weren't sure whether he was very quiet within himself, or whether he was just like, fuck these guys, I'm better than this. We weren't sure on his vibe. But either way, he was nice enough to talk to.
He was better as Oblivion on Gladiators. Never cared for Magnus, but he was alright on Gladiators.
Aye. There's Abyss.
Yes.
Julian Markin.
Fucking love Abyss. I always have. I think a lot of people are quick to say, "Oh, it's just Mankind," or "Oh, it's just Kane." It's not though.
He's the poor man's Mick Foley.
He is the poor man's Mick Foley.
He is, but it's poor man done not as a case of it's a shit rip off. It's a case of it's done literally on a lower budget, and making the most of what you have. It was clear that there was some WWE influence character wise, but they managed
I like Abyss. Like the to be fair, the shit that man would do to his own body for entertainment, like that's like I don't want to rehash the whole hardcore thingy podcast which we had a while ago, which I don't think ever went out. but
the hardcore podcast is coming several months from now.
Maybe.
I'm going to redo it.
Yeah. But yeah, like I always admire extreme wrestlers just for the sheer amount of pain they put themselves through.
As someone that isn't a fan of hardcore wrestling, even I can attest to that. It's something really impressive. He's on like Sabu and Mick Foley levels of putting your body through some serious stuff.
Without doubt. There was the Blueprint, Matt Morgan.
Yes, I remember Matt Morgan.
Matt Morgan, what a guy. He was in WWE as well. They were going to start to give him a little bit of push as well, but it just didn't turn out.
Yeah, TNA were trying to push him because he got a pinfall victory over Kurt Angle at Bound for Glory one year. And it was like, this is going to be like the super push of Matt Morgan, and it just never happened.
Nope. Poor Matt Morgan.
Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian.
Yes.
Good guys. Really
Fantastic.
good. Black Machizo, Jay Lethal. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Daniels and Kaz.
Okay.
They were brilliant separately. And now you just think of them together as a team because they've been doing it for so long. But separately, Christopher Daniels and Frank Kazarian, both brilliant wrestlers.
They are.
I remember Frank Kazarian being in the three-way at Sacrifice.
Yes.
Kazarian got thrown in last minute, and it was really good. It was an excellent stand-in that didn't kill the vibe of the pay-per-view. Because usually when someone gets thrown into something last minute, it just kills the whole vibe.
Yeah, it's like, I wasn't expecting this.
It was like when Great Khali was injured for the first Punjabi prison match, and just showed a big showing.
Or in what's his name? Well, mind you, this was Vince being a dick to ECW, but like in the December to Dismember, when he just decided to take Sabu out of the Extreme thing and throw Hardcore Holly in, it's like.
I think that if something happened with Kazarian as well, like I think he had a ladder match with Christian, and I don't think that was really planned. It was Christian versus someone, and then at the last minute, it was like, right, Kazarian got to have a ladder match with Christian. They put on a really good match. So Jay Lethal, Ring of Honor World Champion.
Jay Lethal, yeah, absolutely.
Jay Lethal's fantastic.
Super.
One of the most underrated talents of the past decade, I would say. And beyond, he's been wrestling for that long. People forget how long he's been going for.
Really has been going for ages. Jeff Jarrett, obviously, founder.
Still a knob.
Had a brilliant theme, man. And every time I hear Cesaro, every time I hear his music, I think it's Jeff Jarrett making a comeback. Never is.
Never is. Sanjay Dutt as well, one of the X Division competitors, really, really good. Like I always think Sanjay Dutt was really underrated. He didn't get the X Division title until much later on. But yeah, he's really good. I do like Sanjay Dutt. Austin Aries, what a guy. Shame he didn't work out in WWE. But
it's so sad, man. He deserved it. He really deserved it. And I think after he did the job for Neville, like for the 75th time, it was like, I've had enough of this.
Yeah, he deserved well more than
absolutely.
It's a shame he came in when he did, when Neville was there.
Yeah.
If he'd have come in at any other time before the Cruiserweight...
If he'd have come in now...
If he'd have come in during the Cruiserweight Classic, he could have won it, I think.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
There you go.
I've got two more, and then I'll bring out the one last big gun I've got, which is Sharpboy and Curry Man.
Yes. Curry Man, a.k.a. Christopher Daniels.
Yes.
Which is incredible when you think about it.
And Sharkboy. Nobody knows. Sharkboy. That's still a mystery.
Did you know Sharkboy? I think it was.
Give me a shell, yeah.
They absolutely, but when they brought out this is just rehashing facts from OSW now. But The Sharpboy, apparently they had like a lawsuit settlement over the use of his name in the movie Sharpboy and Lava Girl 3D. And so he gave up the rights to his name and got like, I don't know, like a shit ton of cash, and he's just retired from wrestling.
What am
Well played, absolutely, well played.
It's a Sharpboy thing to do.
So Sharpboy's just, fuck yeah, he's gone off to his little palace in the sea somewhere, I don't know.
To reopen the lost city of Atlantis.
Yeah, and then one of the guys he's not a guy that TNA brought in as a WWE guy, but he's huge, so I left him till last, which was Sting.
Yes.
Who, yeah, I mean, would there have been a TNA without Sting?
That's your top level signing, really, isn't it? Can you imagine being, I don't know who it was that was responsible for signing Sting, whether it was Jeff Jarrett or whoever was head of talent relations. Yeah. Could you imagine getting off the phone from Sting and he was like, yeah, go on, I'll join your shit company. Thank you so much.
You just go, I'm just going to go in the back office for 5 minutes.
I can eat tomorrow. Someone I also want to add to that is Pete Williams.
Ooh.
And The Amazing Red.
Amazing Red is brilliant.
Who were both fantastic.
Yeah, Amazing Red, good shout. And
I think
more for others to add?
No, but I think the people are bringing up are, you might get to it later, but the X Division was just something that's...
it was so different, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was very much what Cruiserweight Wrestling should be.
Yes.
It's
agreed.
It's something complete. WWE not putting on anything like the X Division matches, and for a lot of the time they were the highlight of any TNA show.
Yeah, that's what it needs to be. I think the middle ground for what they're doing wrong, let's just swerve this, talk about the Cruiserweights for a second. I think what the Cruiserweight needs to do is be, as you say, more like the X Division, but with all, they have got talented like mat wrestlers in there. Like, I don't know why they didn't keep hold of Zack Sabre Jr., because he's literally one of the best mat wrestlers in the world. They've got guys like
wasn't Kota Ibushi in the Cruiserweight Classic?
He was, but Ibushi was doing it purely just because it was going to be like a massive thing. He was never going to sign.
Right. Okay.
They kept him on for a couple of matches.
Because I saw his name afterwards. I was like, why did they not sign Kota Ibushi?
They were desperate to, apparently, but that was a shame.
Surprised.
Could you imagine? But yeah, so that's what I think they anyway, back to TNA. So obviously, as we mentioned before, TNA kind of became a second home for ex-WWE talent, but there was certain WWE talent that really found a home in TNA and didn't just treat it as, I'm going to go away for a while and come back.
Absolutely.
So names instantly is Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
Fantastic debut.
Absolutely.
Mr. Anderson.
I wouldn't say Mr. Anderson because I think Anderson kind of took the piss in TNA a little. I mean, granted, big signing, big name.
But I won the world title.
Exactly, that's the reason I put it in.
I was talking more about the because this is after. I think he gets mentioned later on. He does get mentioned later on. I'm talking more about the guys before 2010.
Okay.
So these are the guys who. So like names like Jeff Hardy, the Dudleys,
absolutely.
Christian as well.
When did Lashley join?
That was.
It was only a few years ago.
Yeah, it was like
a few years ago.
2013 or something.
I wasn't sure because I remember he just kind of dwelled in the ether somewhere.
He was doing Bellator MMA.
Oh, he was, wasn't he?
Yeah, Lashley's not been in TNA for too long.
No, not at all.
Christian is an excellent shot.
Yeah,
Christian was used to his full potential.
So about Christian was when Christian signed, that was the first time anyone had ever talked to me about TNA. Like we were doing like the school, and someone just came up to me and was like, Christian? I was like, yeah. He was like, you signed for TNA? He's like, never heard of TNA. He's like, you have to watch TNA because Christian's in it.
I think the first.
That's the first.
Yeah, I think the first time I watched TNA, I think I was at a family friend's house just scrolling through the TV channels and just stumbled across Spike because we didn't have a Sky when I was growing up, so it was like always a privilege. Like, let's see all the shit I can watch. And I stumbled across it, and there was Christian talking to, I think it was Abyss or something. I was like, oh, it's Christian. What's this? And then it was like wrestlers like, oh yeah, this is sick. And so that's where that came from.
Shouldn't that have been? It's Christian.
I get the reference.
Oh, Todd Grisham. Was it Todd Grisham? Josh Matthews. Of course, it was Josh Matthews.
Or Bell. And of course,
Speaking of TNA.
the last name on this list, and I'm just gonna let the microphone go a bit low because I'm pretty sure everyone's about to mark out. Scott Steiner.
Big booty daddy.
That was considerably a lot less marking out than I was expecting.
I can do more. I legitimately,
what a guy.
as much as I slate him,
As much as everyone slates him.
I legitimately, without a hint of irony, absolutely love the shit out of Scott Steiner.
I think he's just very entertaining. You can't go wrong with him.
Speaking of which,
TNA match going on right here.
Booker T as well. Booker T was somebody who signed with them.
Yeah.
And did rather well, didn't he?
he did all right. Yeah, they made the championship for him, more or less. Like it
Pretty
was
much.
meant for him.
So that's all I've got in
Legends Championship.
Yeah, they spent. I remember seeing an interview with Booker T quite recently. He was like, "Yeah, they made this championship. They dropped like 10 grand on it. And they're like, are you gonna sign with us now?" And he was like, "Yeah, go on then."
Oh, brilliant!
But can I bring my wife as well, please? Sure.
Yeah, if you
come as well.
Yeah, okay. And then she saw Kurt Angle and was like, "Oh God."
And then several years later, Jason Jordan was born.
So what a silly storyline. So that's all I've got on talent for now. But I want to quickly move across to what one of TNA's biggest selling points, which was the gimmick matches. Because some were ridiculous, some were actually quite good. I'm gonna run these down. And we can go through more. So I've got a couple.
TNA tonight. Can't miss the reverse battle royal.
Oh,
We'll get to that. That's coming. Actually, no, fuck that. Let's talk about the reverse battle royal.
this is the worst gimmick match ever conceived.
It's stupid.
You start outside the ring. There's what, 20, 30 people?
20,
I think. Yeah.
Okay, so you're outside the ring.
First 10 in.
Yeah, first 10 in get to be in the match. Okay, so everyone starts fighting. And there were situations where 2 people were fighting 1 person.
Yeah.
The numbers don't lie. That means that there was at least several people who had nothing to do. And while you're watching the match, you can see them looking around, okay, I'll fix the ring apron, or I'll put the stairs back. It's like, no, just get in the ring. All you have to do is do exactly what you do for your entrance. Now, just get in, and he didn't. And it was
even when
silly,
you're in
even after you're in the ring,
you've then got to go back out.
you've just got it's so stupid.
It wasn't one of the best. Speaking of wasn't one of the best, the electrified steel cage. The once in a lifetime. It's bloody awful. It's bollocks, but it's fucking it's great and it's awful.
It's good because it's awful.
Yeah, pretty much. It's one of them matches.
You're not going to watch it because it's a Matt classic.
Like it hits, it comes off, the lights flicker, the sound effects go, and Devon just flopping like a fish, just selling. The
best part is Mike Tenay and Don West kind of have to cover for when someone, every time you hit the ropes, you're hitting the cage.
Oh, it's okay, that part's not electrified.
Yeah. Oh, it only touched his clothes, it has to touch his skin. And then people just climbing up, put on some gloves and they just climb up the cage. Fantastic match.
Oh, it's so much bollocks. Speaking of bollocks, last rights match, which I think we covered in our gimmick matches.
Which one was that?
The last rights was where they brought the coffin down in the middle of the ring.
Oh, yeah.
So they had nowhere to move. And then also Abyss picks up a tombstone, sells it like it's really heavy, puts it down. Sting goes, "No, that's wrong," and just picks it up. It's just like
there are also some 2-pound candlesticks made of plastic.
Yes,
that wobble about on the turnbuckles.
Absolutely.
How did you win that? Is it basically just buried alive?
It was
casket match?
Casket match. But it was
in
just
the middle of the ring.
Yes.
See, that's another example. That's where TNA fell down, because that's an example of them going, let's be different.
But by
being exactly the same, but we'll change a minor thing. The casket match.
That's Vince Russo for you.
Well, yeah, it's the casket match that's perfect the way it is. Why don't we just put it in the ring and then we're being different? It's like, no.
We can give them props as well.
You can just do a casket match. It's not trademarked by the WWE. They're not going to come down and say, we did a casket match first.
And
no one else is going to complain. They're going to call you a knobhead if you put the casket in the fucking ring.
Like we've just done.
Oh,
albeit like this, then there was also the Elevation X match, which I think there was only ever one. It was between AJ Styles and Rhino.
Yeah.
Where they fought on top of the scaffold in X.
Yeah.
And the only way to win was by, I think it was just by pinfall, but there was always that risk of falling off.
I thought it was if you fell off, then you lost.
Which is
I don't think it was.
stupid.
Because the
I don't
no,
think it was. No, I
I
think it
thought
was.
AJ went off and it was declared Rhino was the winner because he was the only person still on the X.
No, I don't know.
I never saw that, but it sounds really stupid. Like,
It
it sounds
wasn't-
like it's just
it
two grown
was-
men teetering on the edge of a
It was a bit
scaffolding.
weird.
That's
It was a
what
bit
it
weird.
is. It's throw a punch, one person wobbles, nearly falls off, hits them back, they wobble, nearly
You can't
fall
do
off.
any big moves because you'll fall off.
Exactly.
Yeah. Although I think he did. I think he Rhino did hit a gore, but it was like the safest gore
Yeah,
you've
it
ever
was a
seen.
gore.
Because AJ kind
on
of
the
he just
way down.
like Rhino must have literally been about 2 feet away from him, and then AJ just kind of flopped, just like as he's running towards
I
him.
think they teased a Styles clash, but that was not going to
That
happen.
was
up
never
there.
going to happen. But
I think he might have like reversed it into like a backdrop, and that was probably the most dangerous part of the match.
probably. There was also the Feast or Fired match.
I hate this concept.
Never saw one, but I know the
Feast or
concept.
Fired.
What? Do you know what? No, like the concept I don't mind. It's just the execution was always fucking terrible.
Yeah.
Why would you agree to that?
They're being fired.
It's just like, oh, okay.
Well, it's just the risk of it. But it's like, I can kind of see it. Like, you know, everyone shits on the Feast or Fire match, but I don't actually think it's that bad of an idea.
It's a good idea. It's just the
like-
execution's awful.
Well, it's because I think it sets up like the way they got around it not being like Money in the Bank was that it was like if you won the if you won an opportunity for the X Division, the World Heavyweight or the Tag Team titles, it was a sanctioned match. It wasn't at any time contract. But that's the risk you take with the one fired briefcase. It added that extra bit of uncertainty as to when you put the briefcase down. Granted. But then it was an interesting one as well when they had you had to once you'd taken the briefcase off the hook, you had to leave the ring to like both feet had to touch the outsides in order to actually the briefcase to be yours. Mm-hmm. I remember they did one spot where the Motor City Machine Guns took one down and were holding it, and then Jay Lethal ran and springboarded off and just like kind of just went through the middle of them. Because they were holding the briefcase up one at a side, he jumped through and just kind of caught it and then landed on the outside because they were on the side of the apron, and so therefore he got the briefcase, which I think is
That's quite cool.
There's little things you can do like that. I mean, there was, as you say, like it depends on the whole booking side of it. Like you've got to make sure that you get briefcase number 1 or 2 or something like that, which is then where the kayfabe kind of fades out a little bit.
You can't have Kurt Angle climb up and just accidentally take the
fired one. Exactly.
It's like
That's the biggest hole.
Excuse me, Sanjay, don't think about your briefcase.
Did they open them inside the ring?
No, they opened them in afterwards. There was there was a segment. There was a segment backstage that they did
I
afterwards.
suppose that'd be alright, even if you grabbed the wrong one. Then
With Jeremy Borash, who we've not mentioned yet.
Yeah, I've actually got JB in my notes. Him and Mike Tenay as being some of my favourite on-air personalities of all time.
I agree. Mike Tenay. I always enjoyed Mike Tenay.
Even JB, like, there's some of my favourite on-air personalities that showed they weren't relying on WWE to create them. It was a genuine, original, well, mostly original character development.
I agreed. The only one, there's the 6 Sides of Steel, which was a steel cage match. Also, there was the what was it called? Ultimate Lockdown.
Lethal Lockdown.
Yeah,
that's what I was going to say.
Good.
Lethal Leap Year.
It's decent concept, but
it's essentially war games.
Yeah, pretty much, but with weapons coming down. It was all right. It wasn't. There were some good matches.
There were some good ones.
And then I think everyone's favourite Ultimate X match. Ultimate X matches were great. Amazing.
I'd say first TNA match I remember seeing.
I think mine was one of the same as well. Like I fell in love with the Ultimate X match.
It's a great way to introduce yourself to TNA by seeing probably their most original concept.
Yeah, I'd say go and if you see anything of TNA, go and watch at least one Ultimate X match.
There was a Bound for Glory one, I think it might have been 2009, and it was like 7 people, like some of the top X Division people. It was like Saban, Christopher Daniels, I think he was Curryman. I don't think it might have been Christopher Daniels, but Kazarian was Suicide.
Yeah.
And you had people like that, and like just the moves they would pull. Like Christopher Daniels almost died during the match, but it was still a fantastic spot.
Absolutely. I think that's really like a Global Force keeping the Ultimate X match. When was the last time they had an Ultimate X match?
It was quite a while ago. I don't think they've done one in quite a while.
That's a shame.
I don't think Global Force Wrestling are keeping anything worthwhile.
I mean, they've kept the name Impact. That's about it. It's Global Force presents Impact, and they have kept the 6-sided ring. Although the ropes are
it's
bright lime green,
that's
and they're
awful.
They are horrible,
Well,
horrible
it's
ropes.
still-
Still
wanna
Impact,
watch it.
but the green ropes are
They
disgraceful.
are
Eyes
horrible
hurt
ropes.
looking at it.
They do.
It's not because it's GFW, it's because of the ropes.
As if it wasn't hard enough to watch. Now they got green ropes.
Yeah.
It's like they want you to turn off.
Yeah, they do.
So let's
Put them out of the misery.
let's delve into where everything kind of it went good and then went wrong and then turned into Global Force. So yeah, it went wrong.
Yeah.
So in 2010, everything changed for TNA in what could be considered the most pivotal. Oh, the most pivotal time for the company. Yeah, that did make sense. I was just reading it wrong. Wrestling legend Hulk Hogan. I'm just gonna let everyone get the laughs over that. Wrestling legend Hulk Hogan and former WCW president Eric Bischoff both obtained positions in the company, with Bischoff becoming a part of the creative team and Hulk was a consultant. Inevitably, they started to make changes. Within the next few months, TNA would start to hire former high-profile WWE wrestlers such as Rob Van Dam. Anyone going to do his theme?
Rob Van Dam! The whole fucking show! It's the worst theme ever made.
Absolutely.
Just to counter that, can we do a quick one of a kind?
Hey!
Hey!
One of a kind!
Okay, we balanced out by now. Mr. Anderson,
Yeah.
we mentioned before.
Yes. Anderson.
Ric Flair. Ric Flair in.
Anderson.
Also, big up Ric Flair, doing alright now.
Yeah, we really hope Ric Flair's doing okay.
I heard, saw an update this morning
Fingers crossed.
from his family saying he's up and communicating.
Good.
Cut a promo on his nurse this morning, apparently.
Good lads.
In true Ric Flair fashion.
They also signed Mick Foley and brought back Jeff Hardy after his really hot run in WWE, which was huge. That's when this is the time when I sort of started taking more interest in it. I think it was around the time they started. It was put on Challenge TV in the UK, and so it was on Freeview. It was much more accessible. And yeah, did you start watching it around that time as well?
Shortly after this, but yeah, once all these guys.
When I heard that Jeff Hardy, I was a massive Jeff Hardy fan back in the day, still am, and so when they announced Jeff Hardy was coming back, I was like, yeah, I'm on this shit.
I watched, as I say, I started keeping up with it in like 2009ish. Around 2011, I stopped watching and just kept up with it, kind of. And by 2013ish, I just kind of dropped off watching altogether. But the Jeff Hardy announcement was something that made me go, "Oh, these guys are pretty legit, actually."
Absolutely.
Like after Jeff Hardy's run, like 2008ish in WWE, he was like WWE champion.
It was just after
TNA
after CM Punk made him quit.
Yeah, like
TNA
to sign him.
The
steel cage, yeah. And they snapped him straight back up, which is rightly so. So the added star power allowed TNA to tease to be the next real threat to WWE since the end of the Monday Night Wars. This was made apparent when TNA moved to Monday nights on Spike in order to directly compete with Monday Night Raw. The first episode aired on the 8th of March 2010, and the last episode on Monday night aired on April 31st.
It was a stupid move.
lasted 2
weeks-ish.
Yeah, just about.
This was a terrible
It was awful. It was awful.
Why would you even think you could compete with Monday Night Raw?
I mean, that's what they were trying to do, wasn't it?
Try it out on a Thursday, and if they were getting huge numbers, then maybe try and move it to Monday. But still,
compete with SmackDown. Don't try and compete with the A show.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they were already on. They were on Thursday nights, wasn't it?
I think they were on Wednesdays.
They were on Wednesdays, yeah, and then they moved to Thursdays, which when SmackDown moved to Thursdays. Again, I don't know. Or maybe it was the other way around. They moved to Thursdays, then SmackDown got moved back to Thursdays to really piss them off, and then SmackDown got made live because TNA became obsolete. TNA continued to
obsolete TNA reference.
I like it.
TNA continued to expand, however, especially in the UK, shooting their first ever episodes. The first ever episode of Impact in the UK in 2012 in London. The year after that, they would shoot 4 episodes of Impact, 2 in London, 2 in Manchester, of which myself and Candy were there to see. We were at the Manchester taping, weren't we?
We were 2 episodes in one night, and it was brilliant.
It was an amazing night. It was very draining. They started off with actually I've got the highlights of which included seeing Austin Aries and Bobby Roode winning the tag team titles.
In arguably one of the best tag matches I've ever seen.
It was phenomenal, wasn't it? I remember this because Bobby Roode walked off in a huff, and Candace was like, "Oh, where he's going?" I was like, "Don't worry, he's going to come back at the end." And then he ran down and shoved Chavo off the top or something, and then Aries. It was
Chavo's gone up for a frog splash. Roode came back out, shoved him off. DDT 450. New tag team champions.
Would you say it was glorious?
It was absolutely glorious.
Do you know who? It's funny you mentioned that you were at the TV tapings in the UK, because do you know who wasn't? Jeff Hardy.
Jeff Hardy was not there. No,
Jeff Hardy was not there.
No,
because I do remember being like, because I'm not really a Jeff Hardy fan at all, but I do remember being disappointed because he was world champion at the time.
Exactly.
It's like you got two shows in Manchester, 2 shows in London, and your world champions are at either of them.
Because I think he was banned from travelling over here after the. No, he's got lifted. Now.
Is it lifted now?
It's been lifted.
Oh, that's good.
So
good to know.
So when we inevitably go to watch Raw in November, where else were we? There was the Kurt Angle versus Mr. Anderson in a cage match. They shot that first. So when we entered into the MEN, as it once was. Or as it was at the time, the steel cage was already up around the ring, which was quite a cool thing to walk into, and you knew what was coming. So then that match was absolutely on fire, which was the main event for the first night. So they shot the main event first. But then by the time it got to the main event for the second show, everyone was just dead.
Yeah.
Like the crowd, which is a shame because it was a really good match.
What a great way to train your crowd.
And the match was Sting and Bully Ray against Devon and Luke Gallows, or Doc, I think his name was.
Doc Gallows.
Doc Gallows in a tables match. And that was really cool. I remember Bully Ray coming out in Sting face paint as well. It was cool.
I remember the steel cage match. I'm pretty sure. I think Garrett Bischoff was in the corner of
Anderson.
Kurt Angle. No, I think it was Kurt Angle.
Yes, it was. Yes.
Garrett Bischoff and Wes Briscoe. And someone climbed the cage and he revealed his mask and he was like a new member of the
It was Wes Briscoe. And then
who's that?
We couldn't see him. Yeah, we couldn't see.
Is that Wes Briscoe?
We were miles back. Yeah, he had his face turned and then we didn't. It wasn't until Garrett Bischoff attacked Angle and they both joined Aces and Eights. Christ, what a storyline that had.
Aces and Eights was fucking stupid.
Aces and Eights, right? Aces and Eights, I had the potential to be great.
It did.
It had the potential to be great, but for it to be great, they had to have found the right ringleader, the right chairman, I think it was, the president of whatever. President of Aces and Eights. And then, I mean, going down the storyline, there was only 2 people it could have been. It was either Hulk Hogan or it was Bully Ray. And either way, it was going to be bollocks.
Yeah,
it was either
the whole thing with
it was going to exactly. So it was either going to be like the higher power again, or as it was Bully Ray, and that's when I stopped watching because
it was stupid.
It was
dumb as fuck.
That caught me off.
It was exactly what you say. Yeah, spot on what you say there. It was like the high power all over again.
It was.
Because it had this guy, you see this guy right here, this guy Bully Ray, this innocent guy, this guy Bully Ray, who's been affected by the Aces and Eights so much.
Yeah, it's not him. It's not him.
It's
definitely not him.
Cannot be him.
Definitely not. Oh, it's him.
Aces and Eights hate this guy. Can't be him.
Can't be him. He's married to Brooke Hogan.
Of all people, it cannot be Bully Ray. Oh my God, it's Bully Ray. It's oh, really? What a shock that was.
Although I will point out that my boy Devon was in that stable.
Also,
so.
I was hoping it was Devon.
It's not
I just hope he like.
It's not like it was a huge heel turn because Bully Ray had been face for like 3 months.
Yeah, pretty much.
And he was still a dick.
Yeah, he was.
The last thing I've got is me popping for Joseph Parks. Do you remember that?
No, but I remember hating Joseph Parks.
Joseph Parks came out and it just kind of caught me by surprise. I don't know why, but I was like, yeah! I just stood up and everything.
Just like he works in accounts.
That was the point.
Yeah, that was his gimmick.
He was a lawyer.
Was
he was a lawyer.
I'd stop watching at this point. I was
yeah.
It's just some fella in a trackie. Like, it's obviously Abyss.
That was the thing, though. It was obviously Abyss.
Who else do you know that's 6'10"?
But then they played into the storyline where he'd like go into flashes and he'd become Abyss. I was like, oh, this is stupid.
Yeah,
now.
it
Let's end this
Do
got
storyline.
very
you remember the storyline involving Abyss where, like, you could hear his thoughts or something? It's like, this doesn't happen in everyday life.
What? Whoa,
It
God.
was something stupid like that.
However, so we went in 2013, and this is where our story continues. So later that year, 2013, and into 2014, things would start to take a downturn for TNA.
Because I stopped watching.
Because we all stopped watching. Hulk Hogan's contract ran out in October 2013, which he didn't renew, and would later show up on WWE, being the host of WrestleMania 30.
Brother.
I'm the Silver
In December 2013, AJ Styles left the company after the company couldn't agree. After they couldn't agree over a new contract,
Yeah, they
wanted him to take a 60% pay cut.
Yeah.
AJ
I remember that
Styles.
one. Seen on Wikipedia again this morning.
I think I remember on Wikipedia this morning.
I also got this from Wikipedia.
I remember hearing you in the first bit, like, this is word for word. Right?
I think I have just ripped this out from. Never mind.
And one of my notes is TNA's biggest downfall was money and the fact
Yeah.
they wanted the big stars and they wanted this big production value and they wanted to be a serious competitor for WWE. But to do that, you need your product to be at least relatively similar quality to WWE.
Yeah.
If you haven't got the money to back it up, it's not going to happen.
No.
Of course, AJ was going to go somewhere else. Of course, he was going to go to the likes of NJPW and Ring of Honor because they've got a more lax schedule. You don't have to commit like you have to do with TNA. Because they're not trying to be a big alternative to WWE. They're just trying to be another wrestling company that does their own thing. And of course AJ was going to go there because he'd made a decent living with NJPW. I don't blame him for it.
Also in December 2013, the company's founder, Jeff Jarrett, would resign, quotes, from the company, and it has been speculated that Carter and Russo muscled him out of his own company. Like, that's hilarious.
Yeah, a little bit.
The two biggest fuckwits in TNA history muscled out the guy who started it all.
Speaking of Jeff Jarrett, you've missed out a major gimmick match. King of the Mountain.
Oh, the King of the Mountain match!
It's a reverse ladder match. You have to hang the belt up.
Stupid.
And then you take it down. And if you get pinned, you're put in a box for 2 minutes or something.
It's so shit.
Yeah, it's bad.
Jeez, you had to take a fucking degree course to just understand it, didn't you?
It's like
And
they
then
all
had
sat in a room and had an improv session.
A master's in
And then
TNA.
at the end of it
King of the
all,
Mountain.
Jeff Jarrett wins.
Jeff Jarrett wins.
Of course he does.
So when Jeff Jarrett left the company, he would start a new promotion called Global Force Wrestling. Who the fuck are they?
Never heard of them.
Never heard of them. In 2014, Sting, Chris Sabin, Hernandez, Christopher Daniels, and Kazarian would all leave the company, along with TNA Hall of Famers Bully Ray and Devon. Lots of big names leaving, just everyone jumping ship. TNA would lose its deal with Spike at the end of 2014 after they agreed a short extension so they could continue after the original deal was supposed to end in October 2014. So essentially, I think they ended it in December.
Yeah, they carried on till Christmas time.
And they it was essentially just to allow them to look for a new thing because Spike just weren't interested anymore. From this, TNA jumped stations from Destination America in January 2015 to Pop TV in November 2015. TNA re-signed former talent during this time, such as Kurt Angle, Mr. Anderson. I didn't know I was reading that. Mr. Anderson, Abyss, and the Hardys.
Did Abyss leave?
Apparently so.
Jesus, I always thought he was one of the only ones, if not the only one,
To stay it all the way
that had
through.
stayed all the way through.
No,
But even Abyss,
Even Abyss left for a
if
bit.
you lose Abyss, shit.
But he came back. And yeah. However, Taz and Samoa Joe would leave the company during the exact same time on April 27th, 2015.
A big loss. Can't lose Taz. Samoa Joe let him go, but not Taz.
Not Taz.
Not Taz, how could you? Sorry, I've muddled up my facts there.
Face the facts.
Taz and Samoa Joe left the company in that time, but on April 27th, 2015, Smashing Pumpkins lead singer Billy Corgan would join TNA as a senior producer of creative and talent, in brackets. What?
Yeah. And then he bought the wooden crate with what was left of the NWA in it, which is probably like, I remember Willow saying it was like a belt and a few pictures.
Yeah, that's basically it. And the knee.
Oh, Willow, you're still here. Oh, hello.
Hi guys.
This one's quite a big one, because it must be a big one because it's got its own sentence and on its own paragraph. It's just one.
Shouldn't have a one-sentence paragraph.
This is huge.
It's for dramatic effect.
It is a dramatic effect because on March 19th, 2016, Eric Young and Bobby Roode would leave the company after 12 years.
Team Canada.
Can you imagine?
They were former
NWA
tag champions.
Whoever Bobby Roode had to
They'll
go
start a
and
fantastic
tell.
feud.
Whoever Bobby Roode had to go and tell that he was leaving. Like, go in the room, was like, so what do you want to talk to me about, Bobby? He's like, getting off, lads. Like, can you imagine? You'd be like, oh, well, fuck no.
Eric Young as well. Eric Young was huge.
Yeah, he was.
Let's not forget, although his position in WWE, which isn't small by any mean feat, it was a lot bigger. TNA did the whole what WWE did with Daniel Bryan, the underdog thing. TNA ripped that off with Eric Young
Massively.
as well.
Yeah, because I remember I stopped watching, but a few months later I saw Eric Young was the champion. I was like, oh, good on them.
Yeah,
Eric Young deserved to be
absolutely
champion.
What I loved when he joined NXT was like, I remember going on watching NXT. It's like, fuck's that? I was looking, like, who's Samity? And then I thought the cogs started turning in my head. I was like, he looks a bit like Eric Young. I was like, but he's too jacked to be Eric Young. He's
got a beard.
What happened to Eric Young? Because last time I'd seen Eric Young was like in 2006 when he looked about 7. I was shocked. I couldn't believe
He
it.
was scared by his own pyro.
Yeah.
Like this guy.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Oh my god. Oh, how good TNA.
Don't fire Eric.
Don't fire
Don't
Eric.
fire Eric. The whole thing with Miss Brooks and
Bobby
Roode.
Roode. Fuck, man.
That was a good time for TNA.
Anyway, this is where it gets messy. But basically, Corgan became the new president, but Dixie Carter still had a position in the company, still had a position of power as the chairwoman and chief strategy officer. That was in August, and in October, Corgan sued TNA due to unpaid debt. So he sued his own company, because of course he did.
Billy Corbin.
Corbin.
Billy Corgan. I've just got Jeremy Corbyn on the brain still.
Amazing.
Billy Corgan's such a knob. Like, even throughout the Smashing Pumpkins years, hearing about the stuff he used to do, like back in the 90s, he's such a dick. And he looks like a melon with eyes.
He looks like a knockoff version of the guy from, like a bad version of the guy from Disturbed.
Yeah, he does. He's like a sentient golf ball.
Yeah. We'll move on from
Shit,
that.
David Draymond.
Then a lot of other stuff happened, because a lot of shit happened,
Yeah.
which led to Corgan and Dixie Carter both leaving the company, and the company dropping the name Total Nonstop Action and TNA altogether, rebranding as Impact on March 2nd, 2017. So that was only earlier this year. That's
when Anthem took over, wasn't it?
Fucked up this year is. Yeah, the Anthem took over, dropped TNA, dropped Total Nonstop Action because it was a dead brand. Just called it Impact. Just called it Impact. During this name change period, Drew Galloway, Mike Bennett and Maria Kanellis, and the Broken Hardy Boys, who were the tag team champions at the time, all left the company.
Can you imagine your tag team champions leaving?
Yep. Bye!
Like, can we have them back? Nope.
Could you imagine the hottest thing maybe in wrestling? The one thing that you had going for
the
it
one thing
is-
leaving the Hardy Boys
like,
did
see
with
you
the whole
later.
broken
I just
thing.
love to see them leaving. It's like, can we have the titles back? Nope, we'll sue you. With what money?
Yeah, exactly. And they're still trying to argue over the whole broken persona being theirs. It's like, no, fuck off.
But
Who else? Right, it's
Matt built it.
if TNA retain the broken, if they do end up retaining the broken gimmick, it's only going to be like what happened when Kevin Nash and Razor Ramon left.
Yeah, fake
And Scott Hall
broken
left.
Matt
So
Hardy.
yeah, exactly. It's just what you're gonna have, like broken Loki or something.
dress up Jeremy Borash.
Broken Bobby Lashley.
Broken Bobby Lashley. Wonderful.
It would not be long after after the name change, because it was on April 20th, so it was just over a month.
What a
Impact Wrestling announced a merger with Global Force Wrestling, which was fully completed in June.
That was, hang on, backtrack. That was done on April the 20th.
April 20th this year.
And they announced the merger on 420.
Yes, they did.
I reckon they were all just sat around in a room celebrating
like,
420.
hey,
It's like,
guys,
do you want to merge the companies?
Guys, do you think? Christ, I'm hungry. Do you think we should just join these companies together?
Just Jeff Jarrett in the back, like, yeah, man.
Taking a fucking bong out of it. Taking a hit off a guitar-shaped bong.
That's the best idea I've ever heard.
The last sentence I've got is this was the end of the company, which was
well
this was the end of as the company as we know it, as it would be rebranded Global Force Wrestling. And that leads us to as we know it, Green Road.
That's all it leads us to Green Road.
But also there was something interesting that happened this week on Global Force Presents Impact, because that's original, which Bruce Pritchard got fired and Jim Cornette's back. But as we've just discovered, not actually as part of management, he's just an on-screen talent, which is interesting.
Good move, I would say. Don't let Jim Cornette near your new promotion. Don't do that.
Not in 2017. No, that's not a
just
good
got
idea.
it relatively stable. Don't throw Jim Cornette into the mix.
Do you know when he came out, they had but they had the Jim Cornette face on one of the screens. Like, don't use a meme that is associated with the phrase "fuck this company." What's wrong with you? It wasn't even like you know what WWE will sometimes take things and like change things to be their own a little bit. No, just rip it straight from the internet, plaster it on.
I reckon
fuck's sake, guys.
GFW have just become self-aware. They know it's a meme. They know they're gonna get the piss ripped out of them
For having Jim Cornette on, but we all like Jim. I like Jim Cornette anyway.
I like Jim Cornette. Just don't let him near your company. And so, which is why I'm glad he's only on. I'm glad for their sake he's only on screen and not part.
Sorry
of
to interrupt, and this is not TNA anymore, so I can talk about it. Isn't
just for a second.
Their creative team is Dutch Mantel,
and
yes. Jeff Jarrett, so he's not really much better.
That's true. To be fair, it's true.
They need somebody. They do need someone younger in there with fresh ideas. I think definitely.
Vince Russo's a young up and comer.
So that leaves us with. I've just got a couple of things to talk about, which is the homegrown stars, which we've kind of already mentioned. But once again, it was just like it was what built up.
Tying into homegrown stars, I think TNA has had some of the best tag teams of recent years.
I would agree.
Starting off with America's Most Wanted. We're not there yet.
Oh, wait for it! I'm waiting for it.
We also had.
You know what I'm gonna do?
We also had LAX, their initial one.
They're still going.
When they
With two people I've never heard of. I was looking at them today, like current
Yeah.
champions. It was like Latin American Exchange, like Hernandez and what's his face?
Homicide.
And Hernandez still going. He's like, no, they're not. It's two other.
Conrad's still going.
It's two other Mexican
Conrad?
fellas.
What's his name?
Conan,
that's the one.
Conrad.
Conrad.
Yeah, because that's Latin American. Conrad.
Conrad sounds.
Fuck that up. But also there is
they had
beer money. Amazing. Yeah.
great tag teams.
Oh, amazing tag teams. But they also have people they threw together, such as Samoa Joe and Magnus had a tag team title run, and they were a really good tag team.
Crimson and Matt Morgan were just people fronting.
Yeah, really good tag team.
James Storm and Chris Harris were two people that were doing nothing. So like, right, you two tag team, think of a name, like, okay, we're now America's Most Wanted.
Yeah.
That worked out well for them.
Yeah,
they got
great.
A steel cage blindfold match out of it. That's something else we've not mentioned.
Blindfold steel
The
cage.
blindfold steel cage match.
Did that happen?
That did happen.
Yes.
Have you not watched OSW?
No.
Go and
not
watch
seen this.
OSW.
They
OSW review it,
they
and it's
had
amazing.
blindfolded steel.
If
But
they
he
put
both.
on a sack, you know, like when you're being hanged, they put a sack over the face so to like feel each other out.
And then the sack fell off halfway through the match,
Not a good
and
match.
he put it back on.
But sorry, because the next month they had like a Texas death match or
Which
something.
was amazing.
But they both just bled for half an hour.
Pretty much. But yeah.
Don't worry, I think it won worse. I don't think it won worst match of the year because it was the same night as the Electronic
Yeah.
Cage.
I think it's something like, it's a record for having two of the two matches in the same night that were both considered worst of the year. Also, something we've not mentioned is the TNA Knockouts. The Knockout division, which was revolutionary before the whole Women's Revolution, Divas Revolution thing. The Knockouts were way ahead of the time, especially with Gail Kim.
Yeah,
I think the first few champions was like Gail Kim, I think Awesome Kong, and I want to say, I think her name was Taylor Wilde. She wasn't there for that long, but she was really good.
Yeah, and then they brought Mickie James in.
Victoria
was good. Victoria was good.
they had homegrown people like
Velvet Sky and
Velvet Sky.
the beautiful people. They called. Yeah, I like that with the whole putting the brown bag on people's faces.
Yeah, which it's funny. We talk about TNA stealing from WWE all the time.
They did have some good concepts.
What exactly are WWE doing with the iconic duo that TNA haven't already done with beautiful people?
The exact same thought just crossed my mind.
So it's not just TNA stealing from WWE.
No, but WWE expect you to.
TNA did the the broken match on his house, the final deletion.
Oh, of course,
and then a month later, we were after them
House of Horrors.
No, because they had a match on the Wyatt compound before the House of Horrors.
Did they?
Yeah, it was like a month after the final deletion. And it was like, why are you doing this?
Idiots.
Everyone knows you're ripping this off.
Idiots.
TNA, some good ideas.
And,
over 15 years, they've had one or two good ideas.
And I think, because I think this is the part of TNA that we all loved, so I want to end on it, was the X Division.
Yeah. Crown jewel, if you ask me.
Absolutely. It was just something that was
probably
different, and it was...
Could have saved TNA if they'd have focused on it.
Yeah, arguably the biggest and most well-known match of TNA was the three-way at Unbreakable. No, it's the three-way at Unbreakable. Joe versus Styles versus Daniels.
Yes, agree. That's such a good match.
That is the biggest match because it was the X Division main event in the pay-per-view.
Yeah,
and it was the one. I think it was maybe the only time that ever happened, and it's still regarded as the best match in TNA.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ever.
And then Austin Aries came along and was just like, "Go on, the X Division champion in Destination X. I want a world title match." Okay,
yeah,
all right.
Still haven't forgiven him for that one.
No.
I remember you ranting about that on the first podcast we ever did.
Yeah, he beat Bobby Roode for the. Because I got into TNA at the very start of Bobby Roode's reign.
Yes.
So I was there for the whole thing, and Bobby Roode was the best person in TNA. And then Austin Aries was like, "Hey, I fancy a title match," and then beats him. I was like, "Fuck off."
Austin Aries was over as fuck though at the time.
He was, but I think I was just annoyed. It was because Roode had beat people like Styles, he'd beaten James Storm a lot of times, Sting, Kurt Angle, and then he loses to Austin Aries. Who at the time wasn't the Austin Aries he is now.
No, it's true. He was still good, but he wasn't.
This is bullshit.
If anything, all that if we use the common rule of X beat X, so he's better than X. Sorry, X beat Y, so he's better than Z. It means Neville's better than Bobby Roode. Several times.
Well,
they are both former NXT champions.
They are indeed.
Just to end, I just want to, because there's. We idolise a lot of people on this show, but it's very rarely that we do get to pay homage. So if everyone would like to just run off a shit ton of Scott Steiner quotes from TNA.
Say all men are created equal, but you look at me and you look at Samoa Joe, you see that statement is not true. See, the three-way and sacrifice, you got a 50-50 chance of winning. I don't know the rest.
Oh, that was going to be so good. That was so good.
I think I already fucked it up.
Everybody knows!
Who wants to know?
No, that's WWE though.
Was that WWE?
Yeah.
Give me a fucking mic!
Oh, come on now.
See, I've been standing there and thinking about Bully Ray. I'm trying to think, what is Bully Ray's motivation? See, I know he loves sugar, but I ain't got none! I check my pockets. I got no cheeseburger. So I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, what am I supposed to do? I've not even got a match tonight, but I'm still walking out, because I still got a match. And I don't know what to do. What am I going to do? Play the guitar? I can't play the guitar!
I'll be the moderator. Me mediator.
Shut up! Well, you can't run after us because you got the fat asses! Oh, Scott Steiner, we love you. We salute you.
Hey, Scott, there's only one F in Mafia, you know. Shut up!
You're going to take that, you don't get no simpy. Oh, Scott Steiner, we love you. Right, anyway, that has been our tribute and dedication. R.I.P. TNA. You will be, I want to say sorely missed, but
You'll be acknowledged.
Missed at some points. when we were alive.
I remember you existed.
I used to have a TNA shirt, and it was the worst purchase I've ever. Oh, actually, that's a lie. I had a TNA shirt. It was really nice, and then I cut it into a vest, and it was okay. Then I bought a Hulk Hogan one, and it was the worst purchase I've ever bought in my life.
Awful.
I was gonna buy a Bobby Roode shirt.
I wish I'd bought the Bobby
I wish
Roode
I bought the Bobby Roode shirt. I just didn't. I don't think I don't think it took enough money with me. And I was like, I've only got like £10 more. I want to buy a Bobby Roode shirt.
Oh well. Anyway, that has been a few good marks for today. I've been Kieran.
I've been Croft.
I'm Candy.
And Will has been here as well. And we will see you next time.
Bye.
Fuck you.